Hello friends, so welcome to this lecture on metrics and logs in Azure. See, in the previous lecture we discussed about the Azure Monitor, and if you remember in the last lecture we discussed that okay, within the Azure Monitor we have metrics and logs. So in this lecture we'll discuss metrics and logs. So metrics we'll discuss in detail, but logs will have an overview because we have already discussed about the different logs in the last lecture. So metrics, before I'll start about the metrics, one thing we need to understand that okay, metrics and logs both are required if you really need to find out some kind of a root issues that a security event has happened. Because logs will from the Azure Monitor will give you the data that okay, this is what has happened, and as a result of that action, this is my system is like CPU is going bad or it is consuming more memory or XYZ reason. So metrics, you'll get a kind of a numerical value and you can correlate with the log that, okay, this has happened. That is why these I'm receiving these numbers or these numbers are there. So both are important. So like I said, metrics as the name suggests are the numerical values that basically describes the some aspect of a system. That is the state of a system, state of a resource at a particular time, let's say within the 1 hour, how your VM was behaving, how your SQL servers were responding, so, and this information is collected at regular intervals and they have the information like timestamp, name, value, so that you can identify, you can do a search, you can further create the different graphs. If you'll see, you can, have the authentication type, geo type, response type, and depending on the value as well, you can have a different type of graphs. You can list it down. And based on the metrics particularly situated for alerting and fast detection of issues. So you can set a metric that okay, if the CPU utilization is more than 95% for last 1 hour or 90%, alert should go to the system administrator. So all these activities you can do. And like I discussed, they can tell you how your system is performing, but typically you need to combine the logs with the logs to identify the root cause of the issue, like I discussed previously as well. And it is important really to understand that okay, where the metrics data is collected from, because that help us to understand what we can and cannot expect to collect from the metrics information. So like as per the documentation, we have the platform metrics, guest OS, and the application metrics. So when we discussed about the platform, as the name suggests, platform metrics provide us the health and the performance information of the platform. These are the various Azure resources, like we have the Azure Key Vault, storage account, all these things. And then we have the guest OS metrics. It is sort of obvious like the name, but these are the metrics which are collected from the operating system like Windows, Linux of a virtual machine. And one can I will not go into those details, but you need to do this through by enabling the Azure Diagnostic extension, which you can search it via the Microsoft documentation. And what are the different kind of guest OS metrics you'll get? You'll get performance counter metrics, maybe like .NET event logs, IIS logs, crash dumps, custom error logs. So all these information you'll be able to get that. And further this information we can send it to storage account, application insights, or event hub. And then we have the application metrics. So these metrics are basically retrieved through the application insights and produce you with a kind of a performance data to help detect issues, various kind of trends, and the different kind of data. If you ask me that okay, what kind of data the we have from the application metrics is like the application request rates, response time, failure rates, user session count, performance counters, or page views, load performance, right? Or diagnostic trace loss from your apps. So all these information is available via the application metrics. So this is all about the metrics. Now we'll dig into the what are the logs in Azure Monitor. See, we have already discussed about the Azure Monitor, but a common type log entry is an event which is collected from different intervals. So events are created by an application or service or machine, or let's say virtual machine or a service which you are using enough information to provide complete context on their own. For example, an event indicate that a particular resource was created, like I discussed in the previous example, virtual machine has been created or a security group has been deleted. So all these information we can get it was created or modified, or a new host response to increased traffic, or error was detected in application. So all these information we have in case of logs. So if you log into Azure Monitor, you can see the activity logs, and we have the virtual machine created, and we have the information related to Azure policies, right? We discussed about the Azure policy logs, and then auto scaling logs. We all those information will get in the activity log. So we already discussed, I'll not dig much deep into the Azure activity logs. We discussed about detail, that the subscription level events or the management plane logs. Then we have the data plane logs or diagnostic logs. We call it as earlier, now we call it as resource logs. And now the one information which we'll study is the processed events. See, processed events is nothing different but provide information about the information that is already analyzed, or analyzed events, alerts that basically is your processed on your behalf. Like uh, example would be like Azure Security Center alerts, where Azure Security Center has processed events and analyze your subscription and provide you certain concise results, like okay, within this subscription the security groups you have configured, they're not secured, or management ports within this subscription and with this network security group are open on these VMs. So all these informations like which security center or security advisor provides, are these are kind of a processed events. So these are the things which typically from a security perspective we should be knowing in order to correlate it if any kind of a issue happened. So this is in this lecture. In this lecture, we discussed about the metrics. We discussed about the platform, guest, and application metrics. And then we have discussed about the logs in Azure Monitor. So this is it, friends, in this lecture. Thank you for watching this lecture. Meet you in the next lecture. Thank you.